Originally aired in 2003 on Nickelodeon's Nicktoons, The Electric Piper was a made-for-TV animated musical, and although it aired numerous times after its initial release, boasted a cast with many celebrities such as Rodney Dangerfield, Wayne Brady, who, funny enough, voiced a character in another infamous lost film called Food Fight, and George Segal. It had never seemed to have been recorded, with it being lost for more than 13 years after. And with such a lack of new information, interest grew and questions popped up. Questions like, how could this have happened in such recent history? What's in the movie? And what can it take for us to obtain it? In the year 1977, almost 40 years ago, Nickelodeon was introduced to the world. Well, it would actually be more correct if I said it was only introduced to Columbus, Ohio at first. And then, it wasn't Nickelodeon. You see, when the channel was launched, it only aired one show at a time, which was an experimental Sesame Street type show called Pinwheel. Pinwheel has tons of lost content on its own, including the infamous Clockman Show, but that's a different story for a different video. Anyways, it wasn't until 1979 that Pinwheel became Nickelodeon. Alongside Pinwheel, the newly branded channel aired a few new shows such as You Can't Do That on Television and launched Nick at Night. The channel was doing really well, but it wasn't until the 1990s when Nickelodeon rebranded again and started using its new logo, the orange blob we all know and love. And with the 90s came Nicktoons, which saw the launch of many classic cartoons such as Rugrats, SpongeBob, Hey Arnold, and more. Nicktoons even started a blog called Nickflix, a block of TV movie-length episodes of Nicktoons. Nick also used this as a way to debut new TV movies, including The Electric Piper. The Electric Piper began production way back in the year 2000. It was actually held back for a while due to sample clearance issues, but was finally released in February of 2003, and it was really only known to air 1 or 2 times after. The movie seemed to go unnoticed on the internet until years later. Now, the earliest instance I could find of anyone searching for The Electric Piper was when a user on DeviantArt wrote a post about the film. They explained in detail what the movie was about, a rock opera version of the Pied Piper tale set in the late 1960s. A Jimi Hendrix-like guitarist exterminates the rats from the suburban community of Hamlin and takes revenge when the mayor reneges on his reward, a Harley-Davidson motorcycle. And the lengths, though short, they went to in order to try and find this movie were also mentioned. This was way back in 2010, 7 years after the movie originally aired and 6 years before it was found, to put that in perspective. Things stayed quiet, and a year later in 2011, a now defunct blog called A Musical a Day reviewed The Electric Piper. This gave us lots of new information regarding plot, such as what it was like to live in Hamlin, regarding women's rights and African American rights. They were limited, of course, as it was set in the mid to late 60s. It also gave us new info on a song from the film, London on the Moon, which is actually my personal favorite piece from the film. The reviewer describes the song as a bizarre homage to 1960s Britain with references to the Beatles, Monty Python, The Who, and many more. It is actually unknown how this reviewer got their hands on the film, and the detail of this review is often ignored. And from then until now, information was pretty scarce, and not much was actually found on the movie. A few clips were uploaded to YouTube, and search efforts were made on the Lost Media Wiki, but other than that, there was not much else to go on. And when things were finally starting to look bleak, the timeline continued early this year, 2016, when we received official info from the director, Rami Muskis. At this point, people were desperate for any info regarding how to find this movie, so what he said was a huge bomb on everyone. He revealed that although he did in fact have a copy of The Electric Piper, he could not release it due to copyright issues with Nickelodeon. It's believed he was referring to the songs in the film and how they may have been similar to existing songs, but in any case, this bad news was not taken well. The search was pretty much over now, and although it did continue in a small flame, there really seemed to be no use anymore. For months, no new info on this film was collected. But just when things were looking more dire than ever, the movie was found. On August 9th, 2016, More than a year and a half after the film's release and disappearance, the movie was found again, thanks to a mystery person who sent it as a Google Drive file in the Lost Media Wiki shoutbox. And although we have no information regarding the one who found the movie that was thought to be impossible to find, it's thought that they knew someone involved in production and was able to pull some strings. And that's where the story ends. From its disappearance in 2003 to its anticipated release 13 years later, The Electric Piper still holds a place in the hearts of many and in the Lost Media Hall of Fame. It has always been among my favorite pieces of found media, as well as one of the most beloved and bizarre pieces of lost media. And I don't know what can topple it off my list. Oh, well, except maybe this.